Hey y'all, welcome back to All Bases Covered with Mackenzie Alexander. It's been a few weeks since we've released an episode, so thank you for your patience and thank you for your support. We've just been working really hard to figure out schedules with different athletes, and we finally have figured out it. So today's guest, his name is Camden Sunstrom, and he goes to U High in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They just won the state championship for the first time, so super exciting. One of their buddies passed away last year due to a tragedy, so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and he's committed to Southern Miss for baseball, so it's going to be a great episode. Hope you guys like it, and without further ado, let's introduce him.
How are you? Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah, no, thanks for coming on.
Of course, yeah.
So you're done with school, finished what, last week?
Yeah, we had our senior walkout the day of the state championship.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What a way to remember like the last day.
It was fun.
All right. So you played on Saturday or Sunday?
We played on Saturday. No, Friday.
Friday. I guess Friday. So what was the week looking like leading up to that?
So we had exams last week. So our semifinal game was that Wednesday, and usually we would have probably stayed in Sulphur, but since we had most of the seniors had a physics exam on that Thursday after, we had to go back and take that exam right after we won the semi. So it was hectic.
So you had to go all the way back from Sulphur to Baton Rouge and drive all the way back on Friday.
Yep.
That's crazy. I would have thought like they would have like gotten a hotel or something, but it's your last exam. You can't miss it.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. So obviously, first time you guys won the state championship, super special because of Cam. Kind of talk to me about that. What was your emotions going through that, and how do you feel right now?
So Cam, he was always just like our coach likes to call him a bulldog, which means like he just competes. He never giving up, never wants to lose, always just putting out his best effort. So we kind of just took that mentality into the playoffs, and it paid off well.
What was the biggest, I guess, adversity or thing going into playoffs that you guys had to work through?
So we had a lot of injuries. One of our starting shortstop, Jake McCann, in our final district game, in his first at bat, he took a pitch right off the nose and shattered it. So he had to get surgery. We were out with him for a little while. And then we had one of my best friends. He tore his labrum in his hip and shoulder, and he got to get in that bat in the state championship. So it was just all around injuries throughout the team.
And if I'm remembering correctly, after what I saw on Twitter, Jake McCann is the one who had the last hit for double to right field, and that's when after it happened, because you guys were at what before? It was 10-8, but what was the score before that?
So going into the top of the sixth inning, so we were the visiting teams. Going into the top of the sixth inning, we were down 8-1.
Oh wow, okay.
And then we scored 4 in the sixth, and then the rest in the seventh.
Wow. So he was injured during district, so that's just like really cool to see how he healed so fast and got to be there and was basically part of it.
Yeah. Yep.
So you've been there all 4 years?
Yes, ma'am.
So I feel like I'm gonna give a little context of U High because people don't understand with like if they don't know what U High is, but it's a prep school basically, right? And isn't it with like LSU in a way?
Yeah. So like we could take LSU classes. We're right off of sorority row. Like we're basically LSU. We're like LSU's little brother school, I guess, kind of. So
yeah, it's like literally across the street from like the frat houses. It's crazy. I've never saw the dynamic. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But so you guys get prepped for college, but it also obviously you get the high school experience. What has that experience been like? I mean, it's different than just a normal high school experience.
It's been real fun. So like all the kids above us, sometimes we'd see them just walking to their next class as we're pulling up to school or leaving. So it's just kind of cool just being around that environment. So
yeah. So when you were going through high school, have you always like wanted to play college baseball?
Yes, ma'am. So my freshman year, I was before I started pitching, I was actually a catcher.
Okay.
And our freshman year, I got called up to varsity to play, and I didn't really think anything about playing college ball, but after my freshman summer ball season, that's kind of like whenever everything kind of started like to put the puzzle pieces together. So that's whenever I kind of like, man, I could actually do something with this, and everything just took off from there.
Yeah, summer ball. You were with were you with Knights Nation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so did you stick with them all throughout high school?
Yes, ma'am.
What has that experience been like? I mean, what have you learned through that?
Oh, they're amazing. They've done so much for not only me, just like everyone that comes through the program. They're doing their best to get them to play ball at the next level. And I mean, I've had some of my best memories during summer ball with all my friends and teammates. So
I've asked a few athletes this, but obviously your guys' summer job is having to play summer ball. And so you kind of really have a job because I mean it is your job. Is there sometimes hard times though where you're like, I wish I could just be a normal high school kid and go do the things that people do during the summer?
yes, ma'am. Like this past summer, I was gone for basically the whole month of July. So I would be in like group chats with my friends. They'd be out having fun with each other, and I'm stuck in a hotel in like Atlanta or Hoover. So it's it kind of sucks, but also you're with some of your best friends. You're playing at a competitive level of baseball, so it's fun regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you lose some, but you gain even more. Jay Johnson, head coach of LSU baseball, he said, either you surround your life around baseball or your life is baseball. And if you want to be great and if you want to, make it to the pros, you have no choice but for your life to be baseball.
Yeah.
So when you were going through the commitment process and you finally realized, okay, I have the potential to play college baseball, this is something that I'm actually really serious about. What did the recruiting process look like? Were you kind of stressed at times? And how did you know Southern Miss was like the place for you?
Yes, ma'am. So it was, I mean, I'm speaking for everyone. It's always just hectic. It's very stressful because you're like, do I make the right decision? Is this the right place for me? But Southern Miss, I mean, Coach Oz he's one of the best in the business when it comes to developing pitchers. So I just thought like that's my place. So that's how I made that decision.
What was your experience like? Like, did you go to an unofficial visit and then go to official visit? Like, did you meet the guys?
So I went on unofficial visit, but like they were in the middle of fall ball. So
Okay.
I was able to meet some of the players that were there then. And so like after their little fall ball scrimmage, I was able to talk to Coach Oz, and at the time it was Coach Barry, but he just retired. So I was able to kind of develop some relationships with some of those people, and it just took off.
I don't think people understand when, what it means to a player when a coach like really cares about them. You hear about coaches all the time, knowing maybe two names on the team, whatever, and not, knowing like what their last name is, things like that. So what does it mean when a player or when a coach really like pours into you and is interested in you?
It kind of makes it feel like everything that you've put in, all the money, all the hard work, it was all worth it.
Yeah. So you committed to Southern Miss, and that was when?
That was the fall of my junior year.
Okay, so you're committed to Southern Miss fall junior year. Then you have spring, it's school ball. So when you were going in your school ball, knowing you're already committed, what was your kind of mindset?
I've always kind of had the same mindset, especially when I'm pitching. I'm like very comfortable in the mound, and it's just like I don't let the batter affect me. Like no matter what his name is, where he's going, what his rank is, I kind of just have the confidence in me that I'm going to beat him. And if he beats me, so what? It's the game of baseball. But yeah.
Yeah. I love how you say, like, it's just a game. And, like, yes, like, obviously we talked about it's, it's your guys' job, it's your guys' passion, things like that, but you hit it, like, it's just a game, right? Like, it's not your identity, it's not who you are, it's just what you do. And I think there's a lot of times in sports where people will make it their whole entire identity. Like, if they have a
Mhm.
bad game or bad pitches or they let somebody, get a run off of them, whatever it may be, they'll, beat themselves up. So how do you kind of deal with that, and how do you move forward after having maybe not such a great game?
So like it's just the game of baseball. You're gonna fail. You're gonna have your highs. You're gonna have your lows. It's just you gotta forget about what happened, the last pitch, the last game, last at bat, and just go in with a clear mind. Just believing in yourself and the next anything that comes up forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's from what it's sounding like, the mental toughness. It's
Mhm.
like it doesn't matter how strong you are or, how many great players you can, strike out on the field. If your mental toughness isn't there, it doesn't matter.
Correct. Yeah.
So when it comes to mental toughness, how do you work through that? Like, what are some things that keep you grounded?
So I like to listen to music pregame, which kind of just gets me like hyped up and just gives me kind of like go in that mood.
Yeah.
And then once like the game actually starts, I just have the mentality of like the dude in the box he's not going to beat me, and if he does, then I'm going to beat the dude that's hitting right behind him.
Right. So in being in pitching, obviously, Tommy John has become very much more common these past few years. Not something you've had to deal with, and hopefully don't have to. But what are some ways that you avoid injury and overthrowing?
I like to so there's like these plyo balls that kind of help with like arm speed and arm action and just like the motion of throwing. I like to use those, and then there's these things called J bands, and that kind of just like it gets your shoulder and everything in line and ready to go. So I like to use those pregame and like every time before I throw.
Who is your pitching coach? Who have you worked with throughout these years?
So our pitching coach for U High is Coach Ricky Wagasback. He's helped me a lot. And then over the summer, I worked with Coach Nakan, who's the pitching coach at Catholic.
Yeah.
And he kind of so I had a tournament that I was called up for to go to Jupiter, and he was like one of the guys, like he was the pitching coach for that team. So I was doing his program, kind of just getting ready, getting acclimated, ready to go.
Doesn't he have like the pitching academy or whatever where he like takes a bunch of athletes on and he'll like teach them, from like a young age up?
Yes, ma'am. He and Coach Chad Durbin, they opened a little place here in Baton Rouge that a lot of us athletes go to. So yeah.
Yeah, I met Coach how do you say
Knock,
it? Knockin'?
knock it.
Knockin', okay. Coach Knockin', when I went to see one of like Catholic's like practices before spring ball happened, and he just seems very invested in his players. Like he wants them to get better. He genuinely like knows his players, and he knows what's gonna help them, and he's not gonna allow you guys to overthrow to the point where you injure yourself and things like that, which is sometimes you get people who don't have the best intentions when it comes to that. It's just like the money that they're
Yeah.
making out of it is more important than, you know, your actual health. And so, like, what has that meant to you for him to actually invest in you like that?
So yeah, like it's not only just him like helping us out, it's the amount of time that he put into like the late nights, the early mornings. I'll get a text at like 12 a.m. saying like he's going to be at the facility at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So it just shows like how much he's committed to helping us get better and just preparing us for what's next to come.
I mean, it obviously has paid off. I mean, because you guys have had a successful season, and when it comes to winning a state championship for the first time, it's so exciting, right? And all these things, but people don't see what happens behind the scenes. Like all the hard work that you guys put in, all of the long nights, early mornings, travel, all of that. So going into this season after working with him and all these things, what was like the biggest thing you guys focused on as a team?
It was just the camaraderie. Like would always, everyone would kind of join and go to like each other's houses. We would all just hang out together. Like one night after, I think it was senior night, we all like stayed at our field. We played games together after the game, and we like did a sleepover at the field and woke up the next morning and practiced. So it's kind of just like us all getting together, just like learning more about each other, and just helps out with the team.
So the community is so important, right? Is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that it doesn't matter how good of a player you are if you don't, put the team first and you don't prioritize those team bonding activities, because it's like you can only go so far with yourself.
Mhm.
There's a lot of hot take of like, people who will say, well, this kid's an absolute unit, like he's got all this, power, all these things, and then kind of will like disregard like the other players on the team, which is wrong. I think it's it's a team. It wouldn't be possible without the team.
Yeah.
And from what I've saw, y'all have really worked together, and that's why a lot of these successful programs like you guys, Catholic, all these different programs, they like stick together, because the minute you don't is a minute like your foundation just crumbles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our coach likes to preach on about how, like, no matter if you're a sophomore that doesn't get much playing time, or if you're a senior that's an everyday starter in the lineup, you have a role on the team, whether it's base running, just cheering on the teammates, or hitting, pitching, anything.
That's so uncommon. You know what I mean? Because if you're the freshman who just happens to get pulled up, or even if you're a sophomore and you get pulled up to varsity, or you are just starting on varsity for, because you're good at, the age you're at, a lot of people will sometimes look down on you thinking, oh, he's just the freshman, he's just a sophomore. But like these kids, like this next generation, like they're actually very talented. And like, I think there's so much, like, obviously, like technology and equipment that's helping them, like just all these different things that are coming into the sports world. But like, what is the one thing that you feel like is your like holy grail? Like if you didn't have it, you couldn't have been successful.
I think my parents, I mean, they've put so much time and money into just helping me fulfill my dreams. Like I think I started playing baseball when I was around the age of 3 or 4. And they've been by my side ever since. They've had to give up time at work to make money to come watch us play ball in like Atlanta or Hoover, just like places like that. So they just put in so much time, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I mean, parents really are a foundation when it comes to sports. It's like having your parents in the stands and watching you, like there's no better feeling. So your parents, I'm guessing, were ecstatic when you guys won on Friday. What was your mom's thoughts? How was she feeling? What did she say after to you?
They're just they both cried. I think, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if my dad cried, but I know my mom did. But they were just so happy because they realized how much time and work that me and my brother put in, and how it finally all paid off. And they were just so happy that they were able to be there away from work. And especially the day that I walked out on senior day, it meant so much to them.
So you walked out on senior day on that Friday too?
Mm-hmm.
And then you drove right to Sulphur?
Yes, ma'am. Like we walked out of school, like our gates lead to where the bus was, and we hopped right on the bus and we headed off.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So excited. I just think that we're saying this community is so important, and like the community of U High, like it really showed out after you guys won states, like all the videos going, all over Twitter, all the people congratulating, all that thing. And obviously that means so much, but we talked a little bit about Cam in the beginning and, the tragedy that happened, but you guys dedicated your season to him. So what did that mean to win the first title for the school, for baseball, and for that to be so close to, him passing away?
It means the world to like all of us, even our coaches, even his parents and his sister were at the state championship game. And whenever we were down 8-1, I looked up and I saw his dad. I was like, we need to turn this around. And we did, and I was glad. I gave both of his parents a hug after the game, and I just feel like he was our guardian angel through it all.
Yeah, no, I told you. I said, he's watching from above. He's got the best seat. It's just so special, and I know you guys will remember it forever because, I mean, it's just something that happens, like once in a lifetime, and it's that moment that all of you have been waiting for since you were playing ball in the backyard. So congratulations again. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So with all of this, just talent, great stories, this great success, what is the best lesson you've learned, and who is the biggest mentor that truly has helped you through it all?
I think so. Our coach, he's like a man of God. He likes to pour in he likes to speak about God. So I think that him doing that kind of gives us motivation, and also just the teammates. Everyone comes together. It's something that's uncomparable.
What do you think the difference is between a coach that maybe doesn't have a foundation in the Lord and someone who does?
I think it kind of just gives like the team, the full-on team kind of gives them confidence that like, hey, God's putting us through this. He has a reason for it. Just trust the process. He's got our hands. He's going to guide us to wherever he wants us to be.
Was that something that you guys were kind of, just kept saying throughout the game? I mean, because that's a big number away from each other, like 1 to 8, like people would look at that and be like, all right, this is a blowout. Like this isn't happening. They're not coming back. You know what I mean? So like, that's only something God could have done. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So, well, that was a great episode. I had so much fun. Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, just thank you for having me.
Of course. And so you're going to Southern Miss obviously in the fall, but where can they keep up with you, Camden?
Kind of just Twitter, I guess, just social media. I stay pretty active. So yeah.
What is your Twitter and Instagram?
Oh shoot, I don't know it off the top of my head.
It's okay.
It's Camden Sunstrom 1. So my name right here and then 1.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode and keep up to date with him because he's going to be great in the future. And yeah, thank you, Camden.
Thank y'all so much.
And thank you to Erie Insurance for sponsoring today's video.